Hello everyone. My strategy was the gallery walk. So the gallery walk is where students can either work individually, in pairs, or in groups to create a visual project that then is hung up around the classroom. So then a piece of paper is then taped up next to their project, and then the peers have 10 minutes to go around and provide feedback or questions on their project on that extra sheet of paper that they put next to it. So the gallery walk can be a great way to get students out of their chairs and increase motivation, and it also encourages analysis, evaluation, and synthesis. So the gallery walk can be broken up into 6 steps. The first is to state the purpose of the gallery walk to students. Why are you doing it? What do you want them to learn from this? The next step is where you decide where you want the students to view their work and how you want them to, whether you want them to go in pairs around the classrooms, in small groups, individually, whatever works best for you. So after you set up the students' work around the classroom, you then ask for students' input about how they want to display their work, just to include them in the decision-making process too. You know, some students might have some really great ideas about where they might want their project to show it off. They're proud of these. So then after that, you can put a giant piece of paper next to their project, because their project's probably going to be a giant piece of paper themselves. And so you'll put that paper next to each of the students' work. You'll provide pens, pencils, or markers to then write on that smaller sheet of paper, and lay out the ground rules. So you want to suggest that students be kind and considerate, make sure there's not a bunch of talking going on during the gallery walk, and just invite them to, write questions and feedback and be honest but kind. So after that, students then get 10 minutes to walk around and view everybody's work, and then write any feedback or questions they might have. Some teachers decide to choose to have each student write at least on 2 papers, or provide at least 2 comments to the peers. It's kind of totally up to you. So after that, students will then return to their project and look over to see what feedback they got, what questions came up. And then after that, some teachers will have them write a short reflection to kind of go through that thinking process. How can they change their projects for next time to improve? What are some of those questions, and should those be answered to a larger group? Are those questions coming up because students just don't quite understand the topic fully? So students will write a small reflection, and in that, teachers will be doing that reflection that we see throughout lessons too. So behind me, I set up my own gallery walk based on the reasons why the United States entered World War I. So in this example, it would be like my classroom. I had students work in 3 different groups to create, each group would create a poster on their assigned reason as to why the United States entered World War I. And I know it's flipped, so I'll read them out to you. So this one is Germany's attacks on passenger and merchant ships. This one is Germany's attempt to ally with Mexico. And this one is Germany's threat on allies. So as you can see right below each one, I put up a sheet of paper. So the purple is where that student feedback and those questions then would go. And this white sheet would be like the students' projects themselves. So those white sheets on them, for example, Germany's attacks on merchant ships. The student then wrote underneath it in bullet points, Germany increased its submarine warfare, and 1917. So some examples of those questions and comments would be, why did Germany attack those merchant ships? And were the submarines new? And another one would be, can you add more detail? Because that one's pretty sparse. But in those, students would be walking around and putting those comments on those white sheets of paper below the big project, just to get to know the lesson. So that's the gallery walk. Thank you.